Welcome to Takadimi Part 3. In this video, we're going to talk about eighth notes, eighth note rest, 16th notes, and 16th note rests. So in the Part 2 video, you've gone over whole notes, which are ta, ah, 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 half notes, which are ta, ah, and quarter notes that are ta. Now we're going to build upon that. So please do not start this series until you have become proficient at the Part 2. So once you're good at that, we're going to start in on this. Now, in line 1, you are going to see on this second measure, you're going to see these beams that connect the notes. Let me just get my drawings brought up. So you're going to see those beams right there. Please excuse that really badly drawn circle, but you're going to see how there's just a single beam connecting all four of those notes together. When you see just a single beam connecting 2 or 4 notes together, that makes it an eighth note. There are 2 eighth notes in every beat. You're going to see that you still have the tas. Oy, bad drawing when I'm doing it with this sitting a little ways away from me. But you'll see the tas are still there. So ta, 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 ta. That still happens on the beat. That doesn't change at all. Doesn't matter where you are and what you're doing with Takadimi, the ta is always on the beat. Ta, 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 ta. Now we're adding something that happens in between the beat, which is the D. And how you say it is toddy, 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 toddy. So the D happens in between. It happens on the second part of the beat. Now, you don't need to worry about that. You just say the word toddy. Keep it steady. Don't go ta, di ta, ti da, ti da. Or sorry, don't go ta, di ta, ta, di, ta. It should stay steady. Toddy, 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 ta, ta. So now let's speak through line 1. Actually, I'll play it on drums and speak through it so you can kind of hear it both ways. So here we go. Here is line 1. 1, 2, ready, go. Ta, 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 toddy, 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 ta, 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 toddy, 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 ta, ah. Ah, ah. Now we're going to go ahead and play this on the trumpet so you can hear the difference. 1, 2, ready, go. So for each eighth note, you're going to say the word toddy. So now let's jump down to line 2. On line 2, we're going to have a mixture of quarter notes and eighth notes mixed in all sorts of different ways. So what you see in this line, you'll see the eighth notes grouped in 2, or you'll see them grouped in 4. It doesn't matter if you see them grouped in 4 or in 2. It really doesn't matter. Sometimes they're beamed in 2s, sometimes they're beamed in 4s. That does not change anything. The big thing you want to look at is that there's only a single bar there connecting them. There isn't 2 beams going across or anything like that. There is just one beam going across. So when you see that one beam, it does make it an eighth note. So here we go. Line 2. I'm going to say it first, and then we're going to play it. Ready, go. Ta, ta-dee, ta, ta-dee, ta, ta-dee, ta, ta-dee, ta, ta, ta-dee, 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 ta, ta, ta. Now let's go ahead and play it. 1, 2, ready, go. And that is line 2. Now let's go down to line 3. Now in line 3, we're going to see single eighth note rests. So you see this little symbol, oh, really badly drawn circle. You're going to see those little symbols right there. That is an eighth note rest. So for eighth note rest, depending where it happens, it might happen on the T, or it might happen on the, it might happen on the ta, or it might happen on the D. So you'll see in the second part here, the rest happens on the ta, and in this beginning part, that rest happens on the D. So you just don't play when you see it in that part. So I'm going to do the first time on drums. I think this will really help as I say it and speak it. 1, 2, ready, go. Ta, 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 ta-dee, 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 ta, 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 ta-dee, 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 ta. Now, what you might ask yourself, or I get the comments a lot of times, especially in that second measure when you're just playing on the tas, that's the same as the first measure. It sounds exactly the same to the ear, or at least that's what most people will say. However, if you're playing on a wind instrument, there actually is a little difference. On drums, yeah, you really won't notice a difference in sound at all. But on a wind instrument, listen to the difference. You will actually hear it. Now, these times, I'm not going to actually say the D like earlier. I actually said the rests or the ahs and things like that. It's too quick for me to be able to say it, so you'll hear it. 1, 2, ready, go. So what you kind of noticed when I played it on the trumpet is the tas were a little longer in sound, and the eighth notes with the eighth note rest were just a little bit shorter in sound. So on a wind instrument, you can actually make a difference in the sound. On a drums, it's a little bit trickier to actually get that. So now we're going to go to line 4, and what I just realized by looking at this is I never wrote in the counting on this one. So let's go through and just take a second and write the counting in. So we've got ta, ta, D, ta, D, ta, ta, D, ta, D, ta, ta, D, ta, D, ta, D, ta, ta, D, ta, D, ta, ta, D, ta, ta. So there is all the symbols written in for this one on line 4. Now the question I get often is how would you know on that third ta that it isn't a D? Because the quarter note gets one full beat, one whole beat. You can't have anything else after that. You got to start the next beat, which is another ta. So those first 2 notes are quarter notes, so that's the whole beat for each one. That first one is all of the first beat. That second one is all the second beat. So then we got to start beat 3 with a ta. Ta, ta, ta-dee, ta-dee, ta, ta-dee, ta-dee, ta, ta-dee, 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 ta, ta-dee, ta-dee, ta, ta-dee, ta, ta. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it on drums so you can hear the difference. And again, I'm going to do this one on drums and I'm going to do it on trumpet. So here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Ta, ta, dee, ta, dee, ta, ta, dee, ta, dee, ta, dee, ta, ta, dee, ta, dee, ta, ta. So that time, I just didn't speak the rests. You can speak the rests. And sometimes what I'll see people do or suggest the first few times is when you're going through something like this, just make a little notation on where the rests are. So as you're speaking through it, you know exactly where those rests are. That will help make it a little bit easier. So now I'm going to play this on trumpet. 1, 2, ready, go. And that would cover eighth notes and eighth note rests. Now we're moving up to 16th notes. Now 16th notes, you say the full saying Takadimi, which is the system. So Takadimi stands for 16th notes. Now what you're going to notice is right here, we've got the 1 beam, and I was really stressing that single beam means eighth notes, because when you get to 16th notes, you're going to see now that there's actually 2 beams. And On the future lessons, you're going to see when we talk about 32nd notes and 64th notes, there's 3 and 4 beams. So the more beams there are, that changes the value of the note. So when you see just 1 beam, that's tadi. When you see 4 beams, that's takadimi. So if I speak through this, this is the one that starts taking a little practice. I will admit, for me, for probably the first 6 or 7 months, I was teaching this to the kids because I was kind of learning it right alongside them. I had learned a bit about it, but I hadn't been using it for a long time. So it just didn't quite flow off the tongue at that time yet. Now it flows pretty easily, at least until I get to some of the more advanced rhythms, because those are things we just don't use very often in the bands yet. With high school students, especially with everything that's been going on, we're just kind of getting back into playing again. So the rhythms are a little more simple. So they're just not things I say all the time, but up to 16th notes, it's pretty common, and it's just going to take a little time for you to get comfortable with it. But once you do, it really does kind of flow off the tongue. So here we go. We're going to look at line 5. Now what you're going to notice is we said there was 2 eighth notes in a beat. 16th notes, there are 4 16th notes in a beat, and ta is still the beat. So what you're going to notice is ta, 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 takadimi ta, takadimi ta, 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 takadimi, takadimi ta, takadimi, takadimi ta. So you'll see all those tas are still there, and the tas are always the beat. Ta, ta, ta-di, takadimi ta, takadimi ta, 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 takadimi, takadimi ta, takadimi, takadimi ta. Doesn't matter if I go slow. Takadimi ta, takadimi ta. And again, keep them steady. Don't go takadimi ta, takadimi ta. Don't change the speed. Keep it takadimi ta. Keep it steady. No matter how fast or slow you're actually going, you really do want to make sure you keep it steady through the whole thing. All right, so let's play this first on drums. 1, 2, ready, go. Ta, ta, ta-di, takadimi ta, takadimi ta, 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 takadimi, takadimi ta, takadimi, takadimi ta. Now we're going to switch over and do it on trumpets. 1, 2, ready, go. And that is Takadimi 16th notes on trumpet and drums. So let's move down now to line 6. So we're going to move this down a little ways. We're going to start getting to sections where you're going to have to take it a little slow to start. But line 6, we're just going to take variations of everything we've done rhythm-wise so far. And again, here you'll see I didn't write the rhythm in on everything. And it's probably good practice to do that every now and then. And that's how I'm going to stick to it, because it was just a complete accident that I didn't fill those in. But you can quickly see how those go. So the first time I'm going to speak it all the way through so that you can see how those 2 missing measures will go. I'm not going to bother writing them in because it's probably just not going to come out really well with how small that has to be. So, ready, go. Ta, takadimi ta, takadimi ta, takadimi ta, takadimi ta, takadimi ta. And I didn't even notice I changed the note on the last measure either. So it's what you get for making these worksheets really late at night. And also, I do want to mention, I didn't mention in any of the other 2 previous videos, but I'm going to make all these sheets available in the description. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put a link down in all the descriptions to every single worksheet that I've got. So it doesn't matter if you're viewing the first video or the last video, you'll see a list of all the worksheets that are on my Dropbox folder. So here we go. I'm going to first do it on drums. 1, 2, ready, go. Ta, takadimi ta, takadimi ta, takadimi ta, takadimi ta, takadimi ta. Now let's do it on trumpets. 1, 2, ready, go. Had to throw the note change in there. All right, now we go down to line 7. Now, this is where you're going to want to slow things down. You're going to see it kind of looks like, whoops, it kind of looks like an 8th note rest, but now it has a little extra symbol on it. So the 8th note had one little flare out, 16th notes have 2 little flare outs. And if you notice, that corresponds to 8th notes and 16th notes. 8th notes have 1 beam, and the 8th note rest had 1 little flare out. And the 16th note has 2 beams, and the 16th note rest has 2 little flare outs. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is the chances you're going to see a rhythm written like this is like next to nothing. The chances you'll see something is like this is just in an exercise in your lesson book. The chances you're going to see a rhythm like this in your actual music is very, very complex, and you're just not going to probably see it. But I just wanted to show you examples of 16th note rests. So line 7 is one you'll want to practice very slowly. Takadimi, 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 Takadimi. Really take it slow. And you notice there I went really slow, and on some of the quarter notes you actually saw me say the Takadimi. You didn't see me say it because you're not seeing it, but you heard me say the Takadimi on some of the quarter notes. The key with these things, especially when rhythms get really complex, for examples in this where the rests get really tricky, but as you progress and get into harder rhythms, more difficult examples of music that you're playing, slow it way, way, way down. Takadimi, 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 Ta. So really, really slow it down. If you need to, go even slower than that. Maybe even the first few times, say it out of context. Takadimi, ta, Takadimi, ta, Takadimi, ta, Takadimi, ta. Where you just don't worry about if you're saying it in tempo or not. Just take it way out so you get the feel for it. Then you can start to move on and put it within the tempo. All right, let's move on to line 8. Now, line 8, we're showing another set of really typical rhythms that you're going to see. The first one is you're going to see an 8th note followed by 2 16th notes, and then you're going to see 2 16th notes followed by an 8th note. So the first one is a ta-dimi, ta-dimi, ta-dimi. So that first 8th note, remember it's an 8th note, and then it's followed by the 2 16th notes, so that 8th note takes up the ta, ta-ka. The ta-ka is within that 8th note. Be easier to show you on the drums. Takadimi, ta. Takadimi, ta. Takadimi, ta. Ta-dimi, ta. Ta-dimi, ta. Then example, that second one where it's 2 16th notes followed by an 8th note. Again, the D takes up the dimi because an 8th note equals 2 16th notes. So the 2 16th notes are within that 8th note. Takadimi, 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 Takadi, 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 Ta-dimi, Ta-dimi, Takadi, Takadi. So hopefully you kind of hear the difference in those two rhythms. So now we're going to play through this. The first half is the ta-dimi. The second half goes the takadi. So here we go. I'm going to do this one on drums and trumpet. 1, 2, ready, go. Ta, ta-dimi, ta, ta-dimi, ta, ta-dimi, ta, ta-dimi, ta, takadi, ta, takadi, ta, takadi, ta, takadi, ta, ah, ah, ah. Now let's switch over to trumpet. 2, ready, go. Now let's jump down to line 9, where we're just going to combine them. And this is the one I was mentioning earlier you want to watch out for, because right Oops, let me get to my marker tool, because right there, we're combining the two together. Ta, dimi, takadi, ta. Ta, dimi, takadimi, ta. But again, remember the ta is always on the beat. Ta, dimi, takadi, ta. Ta, dimi, ta. Ta, dimi, takadi, ta. So that's what you really want to watch out for. So here we go, line 9. I'm going to start it on trumpet. 1, 2, ready, go. Now I'm going to do it on drums. 1, 2, ready, go. Ta, ta, dimi, ta, takadi, ta, ta, dimi, takadi, ta, 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 dimi, takadi, ta. All right, so now let's jump down to line 10 and scroll down to the final line on this page. So now if I talk through this and speak through the line, 1, 2, ready, go. Ta, 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 dimi, takadimi, ta, takadi, ta, di, ta, dimi, di. So what you want to watch out for is that last little eighth note I throw in there with a rest on the ta, so it happens on the D. So now I'm going to try to play it. 1, 2, ready, go. And that is Takadimi Part 3, going over eighth notes, eighth note rests, 16th notes, and 16th note rests. Just again, remember, do not go on to Part 4 until you have become proficient with Part 3. Otherwise, I will see you over on Takadimi Part 4.